Thank you very much. On behalf of the World Socialist website and the Socialist Equality Party, I want to extend our solidarity to Julian Assange and the demands for his freedom. The British authorities must be made to end their vindictive persecution of Julian and allow him to leave the embassy and, if he chooses, leave the United Kingdom without fear of arrest or interference. Julian Assange is an innocent man. He is a political prisoner and the victim of a monstrous frame-up. It is more than 1 year since Sweden dropped its allegations against him, and more than 3 years since the United Nations condemned his detention as arbitrary, unreasonable, unnecessary and disproportionate. Yet after 6 years, he still cannot leave the embassy. Only in February, a British judge stated that Julian faces arrest for breaching bail conditions if he tries to leave the building. These were bail conditions imposed as a result of his justified efforts to resist his extradition to the United States to face charges of espionage, which carries the death penalty. The British judge's threat was made just 1 day after the US Justice Department confirmed that it is still seeking his extradition. Assange has more than paid for any such breach. Despite never having been charged with any offence, he has less rights than a convicted murderer. Confined for 6 years without access to sunlight, fresh air or exercise, his health has significantly deteriorated. For almost 3 months now, he has been denied contact with the outside world, save his lawyers. He cannot speak to his family and is unable to receive visitors, make phone calls or access the internet. There is the real and imminent danger that this is the prelude to his expulsion from the embassy. The cruel and inhuman treatment meted out against Assange is in stark contrast to the kid-glove handling of the fascist dictator and mass murderer General Augusto Pinochet back in London in 1998. Pinochet's extradition to Spain from London under an international arrest warrant was resisted for more than a year while he lived in luxury until the then Labour government Home Secretary Jack Straw cited compassionate grounds allowing him to return to Chile. Julian Assange is being punished because he is someone all too rare these days, a journalist who tells the truth and courageously exposes the crimes of governments, giant corporations and other powerful organisations. Crimes that include the indiscriminate murder of hundreds of civilians in Afghanistan and Iraq by the US and its allies following the illegal invasion of these countries. Conspiracies such as the CIA operation to hack into phones, PC servers, smart televisions and even vehicle computer systems so that it can spy on the communications of tens of millions of people around the world. It is for fearlessly reporting the real news that he has been targeted by the US, subject to de facto detention by successive British governments and abandoned by the Australian authorities, the same countries that have been in the forefront of regime change over the last 2 decades. And it is no accident that Julian's communications were cut off just before the US-led bombing of Syria, just before Israel's mass shooting of Palestinians in Gaza, and now the Saudi-led assault on Yemen with British weapons. Absolutely. The attack on Julian Assange is at the centre of an attack on free speech and media censorship waged by governments across the world with corporations such as Google, Facebook and others. The powers that be are not just trying to cover up past crimes, they are preparing new and worse ones. They know there is massive opposition to their warmongering. They know there is massive opposition to the years of austerity. And this is behind their turn to state repression and censorship. All the more disgraceful then are the actions of the so-called liberal media, such as The Guardian and the New York Times, that have played the lead role in smearing Assange. John Pilger in Sydney on Sunday rightly described this as Vichy journalism, after the Vichy government that collaborated in the Nazi occupation of wartime France. Joining the Vichy journalists are numerous so-called progressive, left and even socialist organisations and individuals who are silent in the face of Julian's persecution. It is shameful that Jeremy Corbyn has not made a public statement in Julian's defence since he was elected party leader almost 3 years ago. There is no question that if he used his considerable support to pledge Labour's defence of Assange and WikiLeaks, there would be thousands here today. And those plotting against him would have to think twice. The next weeks are critical. We call on workers and youth in Britain and across the world to break the wall of silence by renewing the fight for Assange's freedom as vital to the defence of free speech and a critical and independent media. Thank you very much.